Welcome to On Top of PR with Jason Mudd, presented by Review Maxer.
Hello and welcome to On Top of PR. I'm your host, Jason Mudd with Advocacy Public Relations. Today, we're joined by Nicole Scarbrough with Dun & Bradstreet. Nicole is a social media analyst at Dun & Bradstreet, a leading global provider of business decisioning data and analytics. She produces and manages organic social media content across all major social platforms. She crafts impactful campaigns through copywriting, graphic design, and social reporting. She attended the University of North Florida and earned a BA in political science and a BS in communication. Nicole, welcome to On Top of PR.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We're really glad to have you with us today. And I'm excited about our topic. How does one become a social media analyst? What's the career path to find that position?
Yeah, we are all about data here at D&B. I work with data in and out, whether it's social media data or our own data that I'm communicating to our audience. So I have an agency background. I did a little bit with data there, whether it was reporting or communicating data on that end as well. But in my educational background, I have a background in obviously communication, but in public policy as well, and did a good bit of qualitative and quantitative research there that translated really well into this role. So kind of all across the board, I've got some data exposure and really translates well into this role. A big part of what I do is communicating our data, communicating our findings, and kind of giving our audience a good glimpse into what we do here at D&B.
Love that. Awesome. So today we're talking about how to leverage data analytics for organic social growth. And I haven't met many companies who are disinterested in organic social growth. So no pressure for our topic today, but we're really glad to jump in on this. And so I guess the first natural question is, how does D&B leverage its world-renowned data for organic social growth?
Yeah, that's a great question. First and foremost, best part of organic social is that it's free, kind of a given by organic. So we just use organic as a way to stand out. So we use it to kind of touch on our people aspect in our company. We use it to communicate our data. So we have a lot of really impactful data sets that I can leverage day in and day out, and some really great tools that I'll discuss a little bit later that play into that as well. So we have things like storm impacts or storm insights that we can leverage. We did a couple really great posts about that. We have accounts receivables reports that we put out that we leverage. And global business optimism insights. That's a pretty strong ongoing report that we have that I communicate as well. So a big part about what's driving growth for our channel is the results that we're able to convey through data. So wherever we show these statistics, these findings, these results that our data is pointing us to, it's my job to translate that and communicate that to our audiences in a way that really shows that impact, and balancing that out with the more people-friendly aspects of any company as well. So what our teams are doing, the impact that they're having, our C-suite activity, all of these different things really play a really big role in our channel strategy. And all of those things can really help propel growth and are a great way to balance between just product announcements, kind of the typical activity that you'd expect from companies, and really lends to the credibility that makes paid social work as well as it does.
Gotcha. What does your team look like there at Dun & Bradstreet?
Yep. So we're small but mighty. So on my end, I'm managing all of our organic social. I work kind of tangentially with our paid teams. We've got a little bit of PR in-house, work with an agency as well. And then we've got an internal communications team and a fantastic chief communications officer as well. So we're small but mighty, but make a great impact.
So when it comes to your social media team, what does that look like?
Yep. So from an organic social perspective, it is just me.
Okay.
So I do a lot of graphic design in-house. So a lot of the graphics that you see on our page, I had a hand in making those. We have a really strong creative team as well. So I work with them too. But for the most part, we're working really collaboratively with our team and with other kind of segments in our company to get content, produce it. I manage it and put it through our channels.
Okay. So you're kind of a one-man band.
One-man band. Yes, I am.
Is that usual for a company of your size and in your industry?
I think it varies. So it can depend. I think some companies have little more power behind them and bigger teams. Some are a little bit smaller like mine. So I think it varies on what your objectives are, the resources that you have on your disposal. We find since our environment is as collaborative as it is, the workload is, we've got a team that's supporting us. Our creative team, like I said, is fantastic. We have other BUs that really help us push content out. So I work extensively with our talent acquisition team, our small business team, public sector, all of these different units across the company that help me push out content, because my job is to communicate what they're doing in addition to what our company is doing. And they're a really great translation of the company. So really and truly very, very collaborative. So one man show on my end, but I've got plenty of support.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. So you're more than a social media analyst. You're also the social media manager.
Yep. At least on the organic side. So our paid team is fantastic. They handle that. But from an organic front, producing, managing, creating, that's on my shoulders. And
how big is your paid social team?
They're pretty large. So I would say they're a team of maybe 3 or 4, maybe a little bit bigger. We're spread out all over the place. We're a very large company, which is actually based in Jacksonville, but we are all over the place. So I work with team members in the UK, team members located across the country. So we're pretty large. So team sizes definitely vary, but I would say paid is a little bit definitely larger than me, but not too crazy.
So the paid social team is 3 people full time, and they're not doing other paid activities for the organization?
Yep. So, and from a paid front, they're managing obviously our paid social. So LinkedIn is a pretty big outlet for us. I work, like I said, tangentially with them, but we're a little bit more isolated on that front. So we amplify, we support each other, but for the most part, they do what they do, and I'm in my zone doing what I do.
Okay, that makes sense. So what are some of your favorite parts of your role there at the company?
Yeah, great question. We have so many incredibly talented people at this company. We've got executives from incredibly large, prominent companies with those great backgrounds that are bringing their expertise here. From the day-to-day, we have bylines coming out from different executives that I get to promote. We've got new data findings, so many different things that I get to leverage. Like I said, every single day looks different. I would say one of my favorite parts is just communicating data. We have access to so many great data sets that we can leverage. And from a social media perspective, with how our field is changing so much, it really gives me an opportunity to change the way that I'm communicating data. So whether that's by static posts or infographics or videos or pulling an executive in front of the camera to get them to kind of remark about some of these findings, there are so many different ways that we can communicate data. And I would say the versatility of this role is what I love so much.
Nice. Those are great answers. How is the profession changing or the industry changing?
So much in so many different ways. Every single day looks incredibly different. These platforms are constantly rolling out new features, and I know there are plenty of social media managers out there that are trying to stay on top of them the best they can. I myself, sometimes it can feel like you're falling behind, like you're the turtle in that race, but it's staying on top of it that's challenging. And I think AI has presented both challenges and opportunities. Yep. So AI, in terms, and at least in my opinion, in terms of content development, isn't quite there. When you see AI generated content, for the most part, anyone with an eye for it is going to be able to say that was AI generated, which in my opinion, it's a good and a bad thing. It's a blessing and a curse. But there are so many applications that I use on the day-to-day that have really been enhanced by AI, which has made my life so much easier in some regards. But I would say in terms of challenges, these platforms changing as much as they do can be hard to keep up with. Like when LinkedIn went from those full-size kind of images for links to those tiny little banners that we know and love. These platforms they change so much. So keeping up on that keeps roles like mine very dynamic. It keeps you on your toes, but it's always something to look out for.
Yeah, I get that. It's funny. I've heard a lot of people say recently that they can tell the difference between AI and what's not AI. And I would argue they can tell the difference between untrained AI and versus trained AI, because
Very true.
There's a lot of good content that I'm seeing that you can't tell if it's AI or not. It's funny when people are like, oh, I can tell when something's AI. And I'm like, yeah, I can tell when something's not done right. But, one of the things we talk about a lot on this show is AI is a good beginning, but certainly not a very good ending, right? Nope. It's not the final draft by any means, for sure. So what parts do you find frustrating about your role as far as just, mine is trying to keep up with it all?
Yeah.
What's challenging?
That I would mimic you in that regard. Trying to keep up with, like I said, we're doing so much great things on the day-to-day. We've got people spread out all over the place, whether it's attending different events, speaking, getting promoted in different bylines. We're winning awards. We're doing so many amazing things. And our audience, of course, they want to see it, but they don't want to see all of it at one time. Mm-hmm. So I would say the hard thing is doing what any social media manager does and taking what you need to communicate and spreading it out so it's more consumable to your audience. And even bigger than that, it's adapting it to your different channel strategies. At least in our case, every single channel has a different purpose for it. We're using it for different things. Content that's going up on LinkedIn may not be the best fit for Instagram, and that's just how it is. So there may be some kind of missed opportunities from platform to platform. We don't want any outliers, something that clearly doesn't belong on one platform or another. But there are so many great things that we're doing here that I want to communicate. And our audience, I know, while some may want to see 5 or 6 posts a day from us, some may not. So I think keeping that balance in mind is important.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with that. So were you always a big data person, or maybe someone would call it data nerd, when you even did you see yourself in college being working for a data company?
I did not. A big part of my coursework when I was in school was public policy. Mm-hmm. So I was using IBM's SPSS program, some similar analytics programs, and really digging into the data. I did some surveying work as well. I worked with a government affairs firm for an internship in school and was working with data on that front as well. So data has always been a big part of my life academically. And I knew in whatever role I would end up with, whether that was public policy or communications, whatever role, I knew that data was going to have to play some kind of foundation. Did not see myself here, but I'm so glad that I am. This company is fantastic. My team is fantastic. The people that I get to speak to on the day-to-day are amazing. We have so many incredibly talented data scientists that can speak on these things and really just give me more insight. I can very confidently say that I'm learning something new every single day here. And I think that's the most rewarding thing to me personally. It's what I was looking for in a role.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I can't imagine not being in a role or a position with a company where you're learning and getting opportunity to grow and do new things every day. I know at our agency, there's never, no 2 days are alike, and we're always learning. So I think part of that is my own what I call principal passion, as the principal of the agency. I want to instill that throughout our organization. Mm-hmm. Before we take a break, I wanted to ask you about, I know we want to talk about LinkedIn series and lives with strategic partners to build organic reach. Yeah. But we might hold that for the break because I wanted to ask you just kind of, what guidelines do you have on how you split up your content based on the platform? And, do you sometimes post identically to the different platforms? And kind of what's your thought process and or either policy or best practices?
Yeah, I would say this aligns more on best practices. So from channel to channel, like I said, we have different channel strategies. So LinkedIn, it's going to be a little more business focused. We're going to communicate business news, report findings, C-suite activity, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And some of that more people-focused content we can carry over to other platforms. So Instagram, and this is something that we kind of keep in mind internally and that we analyze based on performance. We see what our audience is engaging with and adapt accordingly. So our engagement on LinkedIn, how our audience is engaging to different posts is how we know where to kind of fine tune and tweak our channel strategy. And it's the same with all of these other platforms. So for Instagram, for example, we know that people focused content is going to perform better. People like to see kind of putting a face in front of the name. That's why we're not carrying over more product specific content there unless it's really groundbreaking. If it's something that we really kind of want to shove in our audience's faces and say, hey, look at what we're doing. Every once in a while, we'll carry that over. If we have some really well-performing campaigns on LinkedIn, we'll carry it over, kind of test the waters a little bit. One, for example, I would say our DUNS number, it's our business identifier. Mm-hmm. It's a big core of our business. It's something that we consistently communicate across platforms, but it was mainly focused on LinkedIn. So we rolled out it's What's Up with DUNS. We have 2 phases of this campaign that's went out over the past year. Both have performed exceptionally well. They leverage very unique creative, very enticing creative that stands out from our feed, which is what made our audience originally engage as well as they did with it. So we took this campaign, we said, it's a core priority for us. Our DUNS number is something, it's fantastic. This is something that we want more small businesses to see. So let's test the waters here and we'll roll that over to Instagram. So we did. Engagement wise, I would say it still did well, definitely not as well as it did on LinkedIn, but that's to be expected with the shift in our focus. And then TikTok as well. When we finally kind of launched our TikTok account earlier this year, we did that same thing and we just translated that from static content to more dynamic video content to kind of test the waters there. And that content's performing fantastic.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for our audience, we're going to take a quick break and be right back on the other side. More with Nicole Scarbrough of Dun & Bradstreet.
You're listening to On Top of PR with your host, Jason Mudd. Jason is a trusted advisor to some of America's most admired and fastest growing brands. He is the managing partner at Axia Public Relations, a PR agency that guides news, social, and web strategies for national companies. And now, back to the show.
Hello and welcome back to On Top of PR. I'm Jason Mudd with Axia Public Relations, joined by Nicole Scarbrough with Dun & Bradstreet. We're talking about her role as the social media manager and social media analyst with a data company, one that if you haven't heard of is a pretty big company and certainly very involved in the credit and financial services spaces. Nicole, what else does Dun & Bradstreet do?
Yep. So big, small business solutions, anything with data. We've got some really great ESG data sets. That's a big emphasis for us. Public sector is huge. So we're kind of spread out all over the place. We're renowned for our data cloud and our data quality. That's our biggest emphasis. The quality of our data, kind of the reach of our insights. That's what we're most known for.
Okay. Yeah, I can remember, 20 something years ago when I started this agency, getting registered for my DUNS number. And that's when I first kind of became aware of your organization. And then certainly as a business owner, looking at credit reports and things like that, we use your organization for that. So, but we want to talk about LinkedIn series and lives with strategic partners to build organic reach. And we know that that's what our audience is very interested in, is how do I leverage how do I build more organic reach? And it sounds like you're going to share about a collaboration and ideally any other techniques you have. So go ahead, Nicole, tell us more about that.
Yeah, LinkedIn Lives are a fantastic tool to really grow your audience, and they really play off name recognition. So you're bringing someone else onto your page, whether they have credibility, whether they're a strategic partner. There are so many different reasons that you could have for bringing someone on. With us, it's speaking to our partners and partnerships. So we've done, as of this year, we've done 3 LinkedIn Lives. We did one with Bottom Line. They're a really big partner for us, that was a fantastic session. We worked really closely with their team. We did another one with Office Depot and that team promoting Power Up as our kind of suite of small business solutions. And then we did one more with Dell, speaking to data quality and our database partnership with them. So we did those 3 sessions and really use that as an opportunity to not only talk about our partnership, but to how we're working together to really strengthen our solutions and highlight the quality of our data and those things that we really want to emphasize. And on top of that, we're bringing in that name credibility. So if you're trying to grow your audience and you're kind of looking into the viability of a LinkedIn Live or something similar, and these can be live, they can be pre-recorded if you need to submit them through legal or give them a second look and edit them. Whatever reason you may have, I think these are incredibly adaptable from business to business, regardless of business size. And they're just a really great way to grow your audience. The cost is low. You can use a streaming platform. You can do things natively. So there are so many different ways that you can do it. And it's just a great way to really grow your audience.
So could this be described as maybe a collaborative, almost like webinar type experience, or an educational content? And how did you get started doing it?
Yeah, I would say really both. So we do a mix of things. When we're talking about LinkedIn Lives, I would say these are going to be more business and strategic oriented. So they're going to be highlighting products and solutions and our data. So when we talk about LinkedIn Lives, they're going to be focused on that. But in addition to that, we also do webinars with our partners as well. We have one that we did a couple months ago with the FDA. And those are all housed on our YouTube channel. We don't push those through LinkedIn. Normally, we'll do maybe one initial call out on LinkedIn, just saying, hey, check out our YouTube. This is here. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, these are more strategic minded. What we're talking about is very intentional. The conversation is very intentional. And we're bringing this partner in for a reason. We're bringing them in for their name. We're bringing them in to really share their insights, to talk about the product, to talk about our collaboration. All around, they're just a great way to kind of grow your reach, enhance your credibility, and a low cost way to do so, which I know is incredibly important, especially for some smaller businesses.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if somebody were to say, gosh, I like this idea, I want to get started, what advice would you give to them?
Yep. Very easy to do so. The lift, it definitely depends on what your restraints are from a legal perspective, if you need to submit things through. But I would say getting started, identify what your goal is. So what do you want to communicate with your audience? What do you want to share? Do you want to touch on a product? Do you want to highlight a partnership? Think of that first, and then think of maybe who you want to do this with if someone stands out. If you don't want to do it from a business perspective, you can also do it kind of from a thought leadership perspective. You can pull maybe an expert in that you're aware of that maybe knows your business, that ties into your business. So there are a couple different outlets that you can do. And then from there, you have that discussion about what you want to talk about, what you want to highlight, what you want the session to look like, how long you want it to be. There are so many different questions that play into that. And there are so many great resources online to really get started. And then you find your streaming platform. You determine if you want to pre-record it, if you want to do it live, maybe what the post-editing process will look like. So this process looks so different from person to person and company to company. But getting started, really and truly, it's very, very easy.
Perfect. Okay. Nicole, I know we talked earlier about, C-suite and new product launch content performs well for you and your organization and in your experience. Why do you think that is? And how do you make sure that the content performs well?
Yeah. I would say first and foremost, credibility. When people are seeing our C-suite, they're very visible and they're that way for a reason. It's because they have so much experience. They've been around the block per se, worked for some really great companies before joining us here, bringing their expertise with them. And the opportunities that they're constantly exposed to and participating in, I think that's a really big call out. Our Chief Revenue Officer, Isabel Gomez Vidal, has participated in some really, really, really great events lately with some great partners. She's done some talks with Google Cloud that we've highlighted and put together a video on. We got a really great soundbite of her talking about AI, which was fantastic for our audience. That did really well. And we find dynamic content as a whole does well, whether this is an infographic or a video or maybe a carousel, something that your audience can engage with that still conveys your message. We also have interviews. They're constantly participating in interviews. She did one with the press, or with Bloomberg rather, talking about AI, talking about our solutions. So we're constantly leveraging those opportunities that our executives are participating in and then finding a way to really communicate that. And we do this from my end on social, from a public relations perspective with our PR side. So there are so many different ways that you can communicate that. But really and truly, these people are experts in their field. They're in their positions for a reason, and they deliver some really great insights on not only our products and our company, but also kind of bringing in their prior experience to kind of capitalize on that a little bit more.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So how do you get an executive who is a little camera shy or social media shy to participate?
It's all about training and our preparation. So I will say from my end, I work with our PR team very, very closely. And even our internal communication side, we're all very well-rounded working with our executives. So there are a couple different ways that you can approach things. But preparedness, I find, is at its core the most important part. Because it really plays into confidence in front of a camera. It's very easy to get in front of a camera and feel a little camera shy. We've all been there, done that. I know I have myself. So it's getting those talking points ready, reviewing what they're supposed to be discussing, answering any questions. But really and truly, our entire C-suite, from my experience and my time with them, they're very comfortable in front of cameras. They come across really, really well. They're very well spoken. So really not much training on my end, but I know our PR side takes a little bit of a stronger hand on that. So from a social perspective, I'm leveraging things that they've already done, working with partners to get assets, whether photos or videos, et cetera. So from a PR perspective, they're going to do a little bit more of that coaching, but preparedness at its core is the most imperative.
Nice. Okay. I know we want to talk about maximizing employee advocacy stories. Yes. And what is the intent of that? So are you doing that to create, employee retention and attract new employees? Or are you doing that to advance your brand's public image? So would love to hear more about that, Nicole.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a two-pronged approach to employee advocacy. So first and foremost, employee advocacy is a platform from Sprout Social. It's a channel management platform that we use as well. It's absolutely fantastic. It connects our employees to a stream of vetted and approved content, and managing this platform and the content that goes on is a big part of what I do as well. I will say, so we geared this platform towards our sales teams. And we do this because it helps them grow their reach on social, make connections, and generate leads. So this is a great platform regardless when it comes to kind of expanding brand awareness, really getting your employees excited about what you're doing as a company. But from a sales perspective, there's incredible opportunity with advocacy. And it really helps our employees grow their own social audiences, feel a little bit more comfortable on social, and examine it to find new outlets to make and generate leads. There's so many different benefits of the program. And first and foremost, I incredibly enjoy working with our team members as I'm doing the onboarding, because there are some, and I think it's humbling as someone who works with social media, what seems like 24/7, 365, and most likely is, people who are coming into the program with not as much of a knowledge of social media and what it is. So a big part of what I do as well is kind of talking them through not only how to use the program, but how to use it to their advantage and really maximize its benefits. So it's got some great features. They can schedule their posts. They can scroll through a live feed of content that we're pushing out across our platforms. I can put in some suggested messaging as well for those who aren't as comfortable writing their own social copy. So there are so many different benefits of this program, and the use has been exponential. And we're really able to also highlight core posts and core objectives that we want them to share on their end. So whether this is product launches, resources, there's so many different ways that we can highlight things that I really want to maybe boost the reach on. And this has lended incredible in terms of the results that we're seeing from our posts. I've got a post from a product launch that had about 200 reposts. And that's from this platform and from people really saying, hey, get on board this platform. See what you can do, see what you can see. I have employees that are scheduling out posts months in advance, weeks in advance. So really it's adaptability from lifestyle to lifestyle and gives people the chance to kind of test the waters with social media.
Nice. We want to talk about your recommended social media tools, especially anything that you think our audience might not have heard of or might not be using that you're using and really passionate about. And then I want to circle back to a little bit of how to keep work-life balance in a social media role.
Yeah. Yeah. So in terms of tools, this looks incredibly different from company to company, as you may guess, especially given budgets and different constraints there. So in terms of productivity, channel management tools are fantastic. Like I mentioned, we use Sprout Social here at Dun & Bradstreet, but you can use kind of those native tools on the platform like LinkedIn Business Manager, Meta Business Suite, those tools as well I've used in the past in past roles that have really helped manage content. And even still, I like to cross-match my analytics and my insights from different platforms. So while Sprout Social is incredible when it comes to pulling reports, sometimes I'll say I want to verify that this figure is accurate. So I'll look natively on the platforms just to kind of double check my work per se. So that's a great platform in terms of productivity. Project management tools are great. Asana is a good one. Basecamp is a good one. Pen and paper planners are fantastic. Really just getting everything in one place. Excel, the whole Microsoft suite, when it comes to, I think, managing content, if you're not doing it strictly on your channel management platform, I always like to have kind of a backup on Excel. I feel I can play with it a little bit more and see what my calendar looks like at a glance. So that's a great one. And then creative, there are so many outlets that you can do with creative, especially with AI and all of the AI enhancements that these platforms are coming out with. So this can look like the Adobe suite. So I've used InDesign, Adobe Premiere Pro in the past, but Canva, in my opinion, and I'm sure so many other social media managers will kind of echo this sentiment about Canva. It's fantastic. It's a lifesaver. The product advancements that they've come out with and the enhancements within the past couple years even have really lended to that productivity aspect of a role as dynamic as social media when things are constantly changing, when you're constantly having to kind of look at and revise your content and come up with new content. These platforms make it very easy to do so. The tools that they've come out with makes it very easy to do so. And really and truly, it's very adaptable from the day to day. So those tools I would definitely spotlight as being essential to my role and my productivity and helping me manage my workload.
Okay, awesome. Mm-hmm. And then I was going to ask you about work-life balance. You know, you're describing working at a global corporation and, you know, being a one-man band for social media, organic social media. So what are your parameters, or as far as, your, how do you protect yourself from, checking in at 2 a.m. or responding to comments at, 8 p.m. at night and things like that?
Yep. There are days where we have to be all hands on deck, and that's the reality of social media. Just because you're not actively working or in the office doesn't mean the world stops spinning and everyone else isn't active on social media. So monitoring is essential. I've got my work phone, I've got my personal phone, checking in every once in a while, just make sure things are going on okay. We've got a pretty tight-knit team, so we're all kind of collaborative in that sense. We've got each other's phone numbers if something pops up. It's just the reality of it. Sometimes you've got to check in off hours when you may want to be relaxing or doing something else. That is definitely not frequent, but it does happen. Mm-hmm. But it's really about, in that sense, I think, preparation. So if I can manage content and get things scheduled out kind of far in advance, I feel like that helps the workload a good bit. Really kind of ironing down, sitting down for a few days at the beginning of the month or end of the year for planning and getting things done ahead of time. This really gives you time to focus on being more strategic, looking at your protocols and your strategies that are in place. So that's a really great opportunity to do so. Wherever you can get ahead. And that's what I've tried to implement in my role and what I do from the day to day. So strategy, being prepared, I think that's important. Finding that balance wherever you can, but knowing in a field as dynamic as this, you might still have to be a little on top of it when you may not want to be.
How does that impact your friends and family?
Not too much. They're definitely putting down lines where lines need to be put down. But like I said, those situations where we're checking, very rare. And we know to be proactively checking if we need to be. So I still lead. I'm very close with my friends and family, still have plenty of time to do all the things that I love to do, like everyone else who's working 9 to 5, that kind of thing. So there's always going to be balance. There's going to be those exceptions where you need to stay a little bit more on top of things outside of the office. But my role's been fantastic. This is a really great company, really cares about its employees. I can say that from my heart. I know my boss is fantastic. My team's fantastic. So there's plenty of balance there for me to enjoy the things that I love to do, whether that's like working out at the gym or going for a run or meeting friends after work or before work or going out with my coworkers. There's so much opportunity for me to do the things that I love, and even more because I've made connections here. So,
nice. Yeah. So what's your favorite social media platform when you're in your personal capacity?
Yeah, personal capacity. I have to say I'm stuck on Instagram Reels. I hate saying it given how TikTok has picked up so much and how that's a platform that we're obviously continuously expressing or examining the viability of. But big fan of Instagram, big fan of Reels. And then from a professional capacity, I love LinkedIn. It's great to connect with coworkers and see what they're sharing on their own socials. So we have people really finding their niche on that platform. So it's great to kind of scroll through my feed on the day-to-day and see what they're doing, what they're sharing. So this can be company related. We have coworkers that are or employees that are really kind of participating in their own little niches, maybe talking about remote work or so many different things. So it's just great to see everyone's personalities come out. But I would say from a personal perspective, entertainment wise, Instagram it's got my heart.
Okay, nice. If one of our audience members wants to connect with you, is LinkedIn the best way to reach you?
Yep, LinkedIn is the best way.
Perfect. All right. Any tips on how you want them to reach out to you on LinkedIn?
I'd say just look my name up, connect with me, send me a message. Happy to chat. That LinkedIn works best.
Awesome. Be sure to tell them that you heard about, you met her or saw her on Top of PR. And Nicole, with that, we really appreciate you being here today and sharing your smarts with our audience. And I know I benefited from the conversation, and I trust our audience did too.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, excellent. So yes, as I said, I got something out of this episode. I hope you did too. And so much so, I hope you take a moment to share this episode with a friend or colleague, and hopefully they will thank you for the opportunity. And again, so this is Jason Mudd. Appreciate you tuning in, and I hope something great happens to you today.
This has been On Top of PR with Jason Mudd, presented by ReviewMaxer. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and check out past shows at ontopofpr.com.